Chad Elkins presents The Elkins Accounting Hour with your host, Chad Elkins.
All right, Mr. Clary, please continue with what you were telling me before.
So I'm doing Atham's job. I'm doing blue collar work. I don't know what the world's coming to when a white man in America has to do the Mexican's job in America. What fucking country do we live in? So the support, vertical support pillars to the deck, you want to be straight, but I noticed one was angling a little bit. Now I'm like, oh crap, is the concrete pylon down below that they poured, is that starting to shift? Is that starting to move? And that was my original guess. So what you can do is you can remove the nails that the support pylon is anchored to that sits on top of the concrete pouring. And then you can remove a screw to move the anchoring device into the concrete to then reaffix the thing, make it straight. So I removed everything that attached the wood to the concrete. I found the metal base plate that's there, and the piece of wood went like that. So the wood is warping. I do not believe it. I think the wood was naturally warped and they anchored it in at an angle. So it is not my concrete sinking away from the house, which is good. It's just that now that I was going to like resync the screws into the masonry, and one of them stripped. So now I got to drill another hole. I don't have mason screws. So after this, I got to go on another podcast. Then I got to go to the Homey Depot, get a screw, and then anchor it in. And then lower it back, and then reattach the vertical metal or the support beam.
Well, I'm kind of impressed by your knowledge of all that stuff.
Well,
else.
It's not that hard. It's just you gotta know the voc. That's why I learned is all this carpentry is just vocabulary.
Yeah,
it's pretty common sense when you look at it. Like if you've played with Lincoln Logs, that's about it. So,
I mean, so the candidate and I talk about this. She's like, you need to know how to fix things and everything. But the problem is, I do the taxes for some really good handymen, and we barter. So it's always just like, hey,
Hey, come on over.
But we have arguments about this. She's like, no, you should still know how to do it. And I'm like, why?
Well, out of curiosity, I mean, if you were to move elsewhere, would you still have these? I mean, that's what community is, and that's what an economy is. Everyone is a division of labor. That's how we've dramatically increased our standards of living. But when you live in South Dakota and sister fucking Wyoming, you can't rely on these people to do that job. So I think barter is a brilliant idea. Because I mean, maybe you should pick up some rudimentary skills, have the tools, but do you have all the time in the night? Are you going to drill your own oil and refine your own gas?
No. And the other thing is that I can make more money, doing my own work as opposed to the money I would lose by like trying all this stuff I'm not good at. So I love bartering. I love it.
You know the problem though?
What's that?
There's not enough fucking Mexicans doing their job in my country, damn it. That's what the real problem is. Let's not get too hoity-toity with the talking and the economics, all right? Atham isn't doing his job. That's the cause of this problem.
Oh, I'm waiting for Atham to appear. He doesn't want to join, but we'll see him in the chat.
I hope we do see him, yeah.
Real quick, Clary, you always get on me about the frou-frou beers, but this is actually a real man's beer tonight. Okay. It's again from 903, a Texas brewery. It's a oatmeal stout.
Cookie inspired? It has cookie on it.
No, that's the name of it, but it's actually an oatmeal stout that's a full 10%. No, I've had this one before. This one's not for green.
Real man beer with the name Cookie on it. Okay, I believe you, Chad. It's
delicious, man. You don't drink beer, so none of this would mean anything to
I
you.
do drink the non-alcoholic.
That's true. You did that last time you were here, around a year ago this time.
Yeah, and they got some good non-alcoholic beer out there now.
All right. Well, I want to run through a couple of things real quick because then we're going to bring our guest on.
Okay.
But first, a few things. Yes, it is the S Corp deadline. We've got 5 more days. I'm under the gun. most people have been pretty well behaved, but there's still a few stragglers who are not making this easy. So they are at severe risk of being on the chopping block, or their fee is going to go up significantly. So you have taught me well, Obi-Wan. That's the first thing. Second thing, and I think you're going to get a kick out of this. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central, I'm going on Rare's show, Rob Says, because he's doing a special beer episode. So he's like, Chad, you have to join for this. I know. I see you rolling your eyes.
I think there's no better candidate to represent the 13-year-old girl beer regiment than you. I think you, with your pink frou-frou cans and your macadamia nut beer and whatever else, chocolate malt beer, I think you will represent that field admirably.
What's crazy is that Rare only drinks Bud Light. So I guess he's got some other people on that, appreciate beer. So I'm excited about it. It might be a members only thing. I don't know. But if it's not, or for anybody who's not a member, it's 8 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday. So
I give you guff, but you are actually a very good beer connoisseur. You used to drink real beer beforehand until this, but you're merely expanding your tastes and your experiences.
Yeah. And I actually do drink a lot of, real beers, heavy ones, IPAs and everything. I just don't post it or talk about it. So yeah.
Would you say you drink the wackadoodle beer to agitate me, just as I make my my estimated tax payments to agitate you? Okay, so this is an exchange.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, all right.
I like to get value out of things. So, all right. Well, I'm kind of excited about the show tonight because, we have talked so much about H&R Block, about why you may want to work there and what it's
company.
like. Yeah, you do own some stock in it now, I guess. I don't know how much I would put into that, but
I'm practically the president and CEO. You know who's pulling the real strings, okay? You know
Red Hawk?
This
no,
guy.
No, it's you.
No, no.
But I'm excited about tonight's because we actually we have somebody, the Lazy Millennial is how we'll call him. He's backstage, and he has been working for Intuit TurboTax this tax season. And so I get a lot of questions like, well, if I don't want to work for H&R or Jackson Hewitt or something, what about Intuit? Because I see that they advertise for positions. And so I've been searching for somebody to talk about their experiences with, and I finally found them. So I'm excited about it. And the last thing I'll say before I bring him on is that I actually held this same position part-time before I was fully established. This was tax season 2016. So I've talked about it on here, and I know what it's like, but I also know it has changed significantly in 9 years. It is way different now. So I think this is going to be pretty valuable. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the Lazy Millennial. So let us get him on here. We have to hide his identification, of course.
Naturally, but it's implied. I don't know. Does he need the prefix Lazy Millennial? Is that just implied?
It's necessary for all the boomers.
Well, Clary's kind of a boomer now, so
I'm almost there.
Well, sir, thank you so much for joining. I know that so he's a little bit under the weather, so I feel a little bit bad about it, but he's a trooper. He was still willing to do it. So how are things going otherwise?
Everything else is going pretty good. Just slowly making my way through tax season. So I got sick, working on transmission. So that's just what I get.
See,
Real
Clary,
man work. See,
I was going to say,
yeah,
he's a man. He's becoming a Renaissance man. He's got the white collar down and now the blue collar. Or he always had the blue collar, but But yeah, so I guess why don't we just start with to the extent, like I was telling you, to the extent you're comfortable sharing, like tell us a little bit about yourself and your background to give people an idea about where you're coming from.
Yeah, so I got my accounting start kind of in a family small business. Okay. And I managed that for, even till now. So going on almost 12 years now. But that was like very much small scale. I didn't really get involved with taxes until about 4 years ago. And that's when I started working with like sales and use tax.
Clary knows that.
Yeah. And then I moved over to public last year when I started with Intuit. So that's kind of been my experience so far.
Nice. And I guess how did you well, before we get into the Intuit part, like was there anything that you liked in particular about accounting that made you want to get into it?
I've always naturally been gifted with numbers. It's
Mhm.
just something that my mom has it. I have it. My mom kind of like breezed through an MBA. I have since then like breezed through an accounting degree using WGU. So shout out to
Nice.
Kathy for that one. So, but yeah, no, it's just something that comes to me. It's pretty easy for me personally. It's something that like I can listen to stuff in the background and do people's taxes, no problem.
Nice.
So
Hey, Clara, you have a pretty positive idea. Like you like WGU, right? Western Governors
Yeah, I
University.
do. No, I
Yeah.
very much so. Yeah, I mean, you want to double check to make sure that your state accountancy board would recognize those credits if you were to sit for the CPA. But in general, yes, it's remote. It's very affordable.
Mhm.
Lazy, is it still the case that you just pay a flat fee and can take as many courses as you can handle?
yes, yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's
how I was
another
able to
reason.
get it done in
Nice.
6 months.
Yep.
Was that so? If it wasn't for that flat fee, like I think it was $650 a month, is what it came down to.
Wow.
And
You
so
got
in
a
about 6 months,
bachelor's for what was
yeah.
the total cost? Like 7 grand or something?
Oh no, it was less than that. It was like 30. I think it was out the door at 38,
Oh
3,800.
my
Chad,
God.
Chad, what did you pay for your MBA?
Let's not talk about that. That set me back so much and for no reason. It was just totally unnecessary.
Yep,
But you did it the smart way. I mean,
yep.
I didn't realize it was that inexpensive. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah, and that is one of the things is like kind of what you were just saying. There are specific states, for your masters that you have to, either move to or have some semi-permanent location in.
Mhm.
So I am kind of in the transition for that because the state I'm in currently does not recognize WGU's master's course
So
specifically
are
for
you
the CPA.
so are you moving to a state that will?
Yes.
See, look at how important the education as like the price and the cost of education.
Mhm.
Like that's brilliant, Lazy. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
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 So you got the degree from WGU. Well, let's talk about Intuit and TurboTax a little bit. Well,
Mhm.
first, what's the exact position you have? I think you're comfortable sharing that. The
Yeah,
exact.
yeah. So I'm a
Um,
tax expert level 4, which is basically similar to what you guys talked about with H&R Block, where they
mhm.
have different levels. I think they went up to level 6, if I remember right when I talked to them. And then you have to get credentialed, and then you can move up from there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's levels to it. Your level 1 is just like your basic tax prep, W-2s. That's about it. Maybe a extra form here or there. Your level 2s can do the 1099s, and then
Mhm.
level 3 is like 1098s, and then level 4 is your sole proprietor or small business or rental property.
Okay. And what level are you at right now, or did you? Which one?
Yeah, level 4. I'm at the
Level 4.
highest
Okay,
grade.
you did say that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And well, I guess walk us through what was it like to apply, and was there anything that drew you specifically to TurboTax over H&R Block or one of the other
Yeah,
companies like that?
yeah. So I actually was in talks with H&R Block originally,
Hmm.
and basically it came down to Intuit allows you to run your own business on the side, and they
Nice.
actually give you 100 credits for $300 to use um, their Pro Series software, and you can
Yep.
either use the internet version or you can use the desktop version. I use the internet because I'm always on the move,
Hmm.
um, so they give you that benefit. And then H&R wanted me to sign basically like a 2-year non-compete,
Non-compete.
and
Yep.
I was not going to do that, even if like she claimed it was not enforced, and so I was like, I don't trust that, I really don't. And that was really the defining factor because and then the other thing was H&R paid less, like
Yep.
per hour, and their hours were more limited, and I had to be there in the office. Meanwhile, Intuit, I'm fully remote. I get paid more. I get access to stock, dividends, and then I get a 401k on a percentage, and I get
Nice.
access to a bunch of other stuff. So
So
yeah,
that makes sense. Would you say, well, Clary, maybe you can chime in on this. Would you say, like, if you have absolutely zero tax experience, like nothing, maybe you start with H&R Block, but if you already have some accounting experience, if not an accounting degree,
I'd go along with that general principle, but with self-education now and you being able to go through mock tax prep and the software, I honestly think you can just sit down and study for a good solid weekend and practice and kind of get the hang of it. So I would not let that intimidate me from applying elsewhere.
Actually, absolutely bouncing off of that. So, all right, this might have changed since you were in, but uh, they no longer. So, if you can file your taxes with TurboTax, you can work as a tax expert.
Really?
It is the same software. The only thing in addition is you get access to documents that you pull up on a separate screen, and you get access to tax forms. I'm one of the only people that manually edits tax forms because I prefer them. Everything's in one place. I can just look at it. Meanwhile, they've dumbed it down so much that you have to.
They dumbed it down so much. A guy named Raymond could do it.
His videos are pretty good too.
Man, that's pretty dumb if it's that dumb. Holy cow. Okay, literally anyone can do it. All right.
Raymond's thoughts and minds, guys.
Yeah.
Well, Clary, didn't you use TurboTax before you found me?
A long time ago, but as you know, as we were talking about before with specialization and barter, my girlfriend did my taxes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And then I did do TurboTax, but I just printed off the forms because it was pretty easy to do for a lot of that. And I had a pretty good spreadsheet. So, I mean, but I had kind of a unique situation. But now I have the world's greatest accountant out there.
Yeah. Well, good. So, they have changed it since I was there. I mean, you had to use the software, but I didn't know there were these opportunities to like start your own side business because they were not really cool with that. I kind of had to keep that on the down low in 2016. Well, talk to us about sort of the hiring process and training. Like, how much training was there when you were doing this?
So there is a set amount of training. It's about. I mean, this year they made it way worse because it's like AI videos for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It is way worse than it was last year. Last year, you have 17 days to finish training, and it's your own pace. You get 20 hours a week max to finish training, and then you can go into production. And so that took me last year. It took me 3 days. I was able to knock out training. This year, because of the AI videos that they decided that they wanted to use, it took almost, I think it was 10 days. It was so slow, and they removed all the speed up options. And it's awful.
Chad, but AI is going to take all of our jobs away. It's just going to replace everyone.
Right. It's going to automate everything involved in the tax industry without question. I get a lot of emails that express just that. So, yeah.
Well, they have their own internal AI, and it is horrible. It is. The fact that they paid, God knows how much for that AI is awful. You could probably make something at home, just feeding it IRS documents that would literally do a better job. It's pretty sad.
This is a Fortune, if not 500, maybe 100 company.
Intuit?
Yeah, aren't they up there?
100?
Let me take a look.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of annoying. So you got through it. Did they at least pay you while you were doing this training? Okay,
yeah. You still get your standard base pay with that, and it counts. You have to. I mean, I should say you can finish it outside the 17 days if you just don't have time. But in general, it will not behoove you to do so, because production, you can start making bonuses. You can get these extra little money things they do if your KPIs are up or
targets,
whatever. And then you also get a bonus if you speed through it. So
okay, I don't know. This all sounds all right. I mean, the training sounds a little annoying, but so far so good.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to be so vague about the terms, but like duties and responsibilities, like what are you doing? Is it just people call up? This is what happened when I was doing it. People would call up and be like, I can't figure out TurboTax, or I don't get this. You'd had to try to walk them through what they had to do.
Yeah, there's a mix. So last year, there was no filter. So you would get those people, and it was just a mix of everybody. This year, however, just because of the undersupply of tax experts, they have a
Yeah.
filter now that you only get full service clients now. And mine is like ridiculous. I have like 56 clients right now that I'm working through. So
Help me in the audience. What's a full service client like? Are they paying extra that you get
yeah,
special services, or what
that
we?
I do their taxes. So you have to have a PTIN at the
Yeah.
very least. You can have your EFIN and all that. It doesn't really matter. You're functioning under Intuit's EFIN, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, so you with full service, you are doing the taxes for the client the whole way through,
Wow.
and you are filing for them. And they go through a checkout process. They pay a little bit extra. And I think it was kind of in the email I sent. I have seen everything from
Yeah.
$193 up to I had one a couple weeks ago that was $1,568.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Wait,
it was
refunds? You mean the bill?
Fees. Yeah.
the
Fees.
bill. That was
Oh,
the
okay.
fee
Yeah.
All right,
when you
15.
do
Okay.
it. Yeah, and I mean his refund was well into the five figures, so I don't think he was complaining very much. But yeah, like my average is $457 per.
Okay.
But the thing with that is I am a level 4, so mine are all like more technical.
As
They
they
all
should
have
be.
every single one has a Schedule C at the very minimum.
They absolutely had nothing like this 9 years ago
Okay.
when I was doing this.
Okay.
It wasn't even close. It was basically like it was like a call center. Somebody would call you
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I don't know what I did wrong." And then
Yeah.
you'd get them to share their screen. You would log in remotely. It was fully remote. Actually, here's a question for you.
Mhm.
So they notified us that for tax season 2017, like I knew I wasn't going to do it again because I was becoming fully established, but do you have to show yourself on camera now when you speak to
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't have that back when I did it. So it's like
Yeah.
a Zoom session. Like they see you
Oh, it's a
working with them.
one-sided Zoom session.
Oh no, you
You
can't
do
see.
not
Oh,
see anybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was
So
going
they
to
can
ask if
see
there are
you.
any hot chicks, but you wouldn't know now. Oh,
I'd have no idea. Yeah. I'm sure
Do you have
there's a
to,
couple mixed in there. I still use their driver's license, so.
do you have to wear like a shirt, like a TurboTax shirt or something?
No, sometimes they issue those to like managers, but
Hmm.
in general, your standard person, they'll send you a packet of like free stuff. And there was a TurboTax shirt in there, but I'm not gonna wear the same shirt, every single day, 7 days a week. Like that's just not gonna happen. So
Wow. Yeah, they were so adamant that 2016 was going to be the very last year that, there was no video. So we would hide, but, I did this in my pajamas whenever I was working. Okay, well, so far, so good.
mhm.
I guess, we've said you're providing support. Like, what type of advancement opportunities are there? Is it just so you're at a level
Oh yeah,
4
yeah.
and you'll eventually, if you want to stay with them, you can go up to, was it level 6 or what was the highest level?
No, level 4 is the highest at what I'm at right now, being on
Oh,
probation.
you're there. So the next
Yeah.
stop would be like manager, like you would get promoted type of thing.
So there's team leads,
Mhm.
who are like basically fixers. So if you don't know something, you can reach out to them, and they're like support. Um,
Uh,
they're like your own internal team support. And
okay.
then yeah, there's level 1 managers, level 2, and then level 3. However, that's seasonal. The other option is you can sign up for what is select time. And select time it's a full-time role with Intuit. Same kind of thing, fully remote. Your pay gets increased a little bit more, and you get access to benefits. Um, and with it, you have to like sign up for it, interview for it. You got to go through all that
Mhm.
again. But they only pull from people that worked that previous year, so that previous
Okay.
tax season. So it's kind of exclusive to a certain extent. The biggest thing is people sign up for it for benefits, and then you only work 32 hours during the week during the year, and then during tax season, you're basically back to being unlimited again. So
God, that sounds like a good deal. And it is fully
it is.
remote
Oh yeah,
the whole time.
yeah, it is.
But you don't get fun stories like Red Hawk does with the weirdos and the poors coming in with their.
I know we do. Yeah,
Oh, you do?
I
Okay,
I
good. All
get
right.
Gambit, especially early season. So January and February, it
Yep.
is. Yeah, it's can I claim all 11 children that are not necessarily all related to me? I had one that he wanted to claim his friend that lived with him that was like
I've
double
gotten
his
that one
age.
before.
I
Yeah.
was just like, what? Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place early season. So,
Okay. So you do get all kinds, it sounds
oh
like.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm working with doctors right now, and that's the thing is like, as late season comes, it's more the professionals, that have their own practices, things like that. And the thing is like they can fire whoever they're working with at any time, and then select a new person. And so that happens very often. That's how I ended up with so many people is because like metric wise, I'm like up there. And so I always get, not necessarily stuck, but I get a lot of good clients when it comes to like late season.
So you're going to get a good bonus,
Oh yeah,
probably.
yeah,
Keep that
yeah,
up.
for sure.
Yeah.
Last year I was like 150% of the bonus, and that was my first year. So it's not hard to do. So
Wow. Well, my next question was, I mean, so it sounds like you must be enjoying this if you're coming back to it.
yeah, yeah.
You're getting really good experience so that when you're fully on your own, you've seen it all
Yeah,
from what it
pretty
sounds
much.
like.
And I think that's kind of how I'm using it is it's giving me reps, working with, more complicated taxes and even, less so. And it's kind of giving me a sight of the whole gambit.
Yeah.
And because you just get everybody, there's no specialization. You're just going to get anybody that shows up on that phone, you know.
Dang.
And so you're becoming very proficient, obviously, with TurboTax and Intuit software.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. If
But
you
it is
weren't
completely
already,
different.
you're definitely now.
Yeah, but it's completely different than Pro Series. And that's kind of why I do the forms is because I know it's very important for me to understand the
Mm.
forms before I start, because they just dumb it down so much. I don't like it. It's too slow for me. And so I like going
TurboTax.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way
Yeah.
too dumbed down. And I like being able to speed through it. And so that's why I selected that. And it helps me with Pro Series because Pro Series is sorted by the forms. So it helps with that aspect.
Jeez. So I mean, so Pro Series is I've messed around with Pro Series. It's actually not a bad tax preparation
Yeah,
program. It's
yeah,
not the one I use, but it's really not that bad. And I hate to give Intuit credit.
yeah.
Um,
It's all right.
so I wanted to know, who do you report to, and do you even have to interact with them all that much? It doesn't sound
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. We have a manager, but I mean, we have daily huddles. But just due to the fact I work a daytime job, I rarely interact with her. I
Yeah.
might see her maybe once a week, on like the weekends, because she comes in on Saturdays for a couple hours.
Yeah.
But in general, I'm very low contact.
Okay.
Sounds like a hell of a deal.
That's what I'm saying.
Kind of
And my next question, well, actually, one real quick, like, have you worked with any S corporations or partnerships yet?
Yo, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
you're man, you
yeah.
get
Quite a
every
few. Yeah.
well, just to get a full balance here, is there anything you don't like about this role?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, like pay, it's not gonna be. That was the one thing about H&R was while the pay was low to start out with, um, it did go up as you went up in levels.
Hmm.
With Intuit, you basically every year have to renegotiate for more pay every single
Really?
year, and until you get credentialed, you'll be lucky to see $22 an hour. In general they're below that, and I know H&R, what they showed me was getting to level 5, so that's right before you get credentialed. She showed me it was like 28 to $30 an hour. So that's the one like bad part about it is just like in the future you're either forced to get credentialed, and they do incentivize that. They pay for your credential for an EA, so I should say that. So it's not that bad, but it does mean like you'll see like a 40-cent raise, every year if you don't get credentialed, and that's just
Really?
is nothing.
Are there any CPAs that are doing this these
Yeah,
days? Like maybe retired ones or younger
yeah,
ones?
yeah. Quite a few retire. I would say I am amongst the youngest that work there.
That was my experience. Yeah.
The far majority, I'd say 75% are over the age of 65.
That was my exact experience back then.
75% are past retirement age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
They want something to do,
Yeah. Yeah. And then they all like just bugger off the rest of the year and just, do their own thing. And then they come meandering back every single year. But I mean, it is kind of nice because they all have so much knowledge. And it is kind of, you can really ask them in depth questions and they're pretty experienced with that.
I'm picturing just a bunch of Mr. Elkinses hanging out with their white poodle. That's what I'm picturing.
No, he's got my mom he's dealing enough with her, so he's done with this. He turned 82, or I'm sorry, 81 2 days before you did, so he's not doing this anymore. Before your birthday, I should say. Well, I mean, so you may not even know this quite yet, but what do you think your long-term plans are with this? Like, can you see you doing it next tax season, or do you think at that point you'll be ready to just go completely out on your own?
I am completely basing it off just like how busy I am. Because the one night I should, talk about that with Intuit, we have it's called IEP, but it's the Intuit expert portal. And we can schedule our hours in there, our time is in there. The clients can set appointments with us in there. All the clients are housed in it, and our telephone tool is in it. And so I can be pretty flexible with my hours. Their minimum is 20 hours a week once season starts. So I think in perpetuity until my business becomes so busy that I can't keep up with that, I'm probably just going to keep it around until then. So,
okay. Honestly, sounds like a heck of a situation. Like, this is really good.
It's like him going to Western, like the whole thing is textbook of what you and I are talking about. Like, ideally, if we were to do it all, I never became an accountant, but if you were to do it over again, or what we'd recommend, like Lazy, you're doing it like you went and you got your undergrad in 6 months or whatever, and then you're moving to a different state. You're already making a handsome salary now. You're getting a ton of experience. I mean, this is a rare celebration.
Yeah, and it if you really want to commit to it, you can end up by the end of the season getting 110 hours a week. I did last year.
A week.
I maxed out at 100. I think it was 110 or 112. So if you really book it, you can do that, and then you still have the bonus on top of that too. So for the assistants or associates, as they call them, their bonus is like 2,000 to 3,000, but like my bonus is like 3,000 to 5,000, depending on like how well I do.
Decent bonus.
Yeah. So you still get that at the end of the season too.
Can I ask, if you don't have to share it, do you make more than your beginning Big Four employee, like the fresh out of college, and here you are working at a tax prep place? You bust your ass off like a busy season, like the Big Four people do. But are you bringing in more than they are?
Well, he might. Do you have any inkling about what the intro Big Four salaries are? Do you know?
It's around like 55 to 70.
Yeah, it's gone up a bit recently, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, if I bust my butt and I work on it and I max out my hours, yeah, I can do that low end of that.
And then when tax season is over, you're done.
Yeah.
So you're making as much. Yeah,
So,
you're making as much, if not more, than the Big Four people for the same amount of busting your ass off 100 hours a week for tax season. And then you get to screw off and you don't have to worry about, oh, we need you to act busy for the next 9 months.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You get the rest of the year to yourself. Like I've got full-time jobs, so like I just bust down just doing that, and then working on cars and stuff the rest of the year.
I think, well, I should ask, because I think I'm going to get some questions about this. Like, what would you say are the minimum requirements to even get your foot in the door with this? Do you have to have an accounting degree? Do you have to already be an EA? Do you have to have experience? What do you think?
I guess we can go over that. So whenever they do the interview process, they're going to send the higher view interview, which is that crappy AI, monitored one that they use like text to speech to. It is terrible. However, if you use an AI to combat it, you don't necessarily need any experience.
You did tell me that, yeah.
Yeah, I did kind of bypass it because the first time I wasn't able to get through in 2022, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And I looked it up, and HireVue uses an AI to read basically people's responses and grade them. And so if you actually plug in some of the questions straight into ChatGPT, I can give you the direct name of it. ChatGPT tax and tax specialist. It's like a sub GPT of ChatGPT.
Okay.
If you use that, I got through, no problem. Meanwhile, like some other people I know, they have not been able to get through for several years because they can't get past that higher view AI.
But
And
you
then,
did. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, and then it'll ask you like how many returns you've prepared or stuff, but there's no double checking on that. As long as you say, oh yeah, like my personal practice, I did like 20 to 30 returns. That's usually what they say is the minimum, and they'll pretty much like pass you on if you do that.
But you were saying you have to be careful because the Chat GPT,
Oh yeah,
taxes change. Yeah, different
yeah.
years.
So when I first interviewed for it, it was in the correct year. As of right now, the ChatGPT one has not been updated for 2024's like tax season. So it's
Mhm.
still running on 2023. So as long as you kind of like keep a cheat sheet of like what your numbers are for, single and, head of household and all that stuff, if you keep a cheat sheet of that in front of you, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
So
don't be lazy about this. Like, be conscientious about the
yeah,
tax law
and you
changes.
need to set out an hour to almost 2 hours to really do it and do it right. So
Okay. Wow. That was actually sort of my next. You've covered this. I was going to ask, what's your advice for people who are applying for this? Like, how can they go ahead and
yeah,
put themselves in?
sadly, because it is AI based, you have to use an AI to combat it. I've not met anybody recently. Some of the older people that have been there 8 or 9 years. They
Mhm.
got in way before this. But everybody recently, it's been in general. They either have to have a super in depth knowledge because it does ask you some niche questions, or you kind of cheat a little bit. So
Yeah. God, I mean, I haven't
it's
had to
sad
do.
that that's where we are.
Feels like it. Yeah. Well, so aside from the hiring process, using AI, what's your advice for guys and gals that want to do this, whether they have an accounting degree or experience or the EA? Like, what do they need to? What should they know about getting into this?
Oh, yeah, I actually so on Intuit's training website. It is where you can get the bookkeeper certification for free,
Hmm.
which is what my partner has, what she has. And then you can also take tax 1, tax 2, and a cryptocurrency tax.
Crypto,
Yeah, there's a
really?
course on each of them. They're free. If you take that,
Crypto.
I've heard if you use the same email, it kind of backdoors you in.
Wow. So crypto. I wasn't. I had
This
that on
is.
my list.
I'm sorry, I invested in H&R Block.
Uh,
I
yeah.
should have
Like,
invested
No,
into it. Yeah.
Intuit's not a good choice right now because I think they were down like
yeah.
almost
Oh, I
17%
looked their stock
last
price.
year.
They're down for the they're
Yeah.
definitely down. H&R Block was up and then now they're down again. But yeah, I think I'm gonna I'll diversify into becoming also an owner of Intuit. I think I gotta maintain my
So
position
Mhm.
within the industry.
I gotta tell you guys, I have kind of I want to say I have a like-hate relationship with Intuit because I think QuickBooks is an amazing program and it makes my job a
Mhm.
lot easier. But Clara, you and I did a stream on this a few months ago. They're trying to basically tap into they're trying to steal people from the actual
Yeah.
CPA and EA, market and bring them onto them to
Yeah.
their side. And their ads were really obnoxious about it. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I mean, do you I guess that's a good question. It's open-ended.
Mhm.
How do you feel about Intuit, the lazy millennial? Like, what
Oh.
would you say if somebody asked you that?
um, I mean, they are uncompetitive. Um, However, the problem is the rest of the market is less competitive.
They're uncompetitive, really?
Oh, there's so many holes, so many gaps that I see like on a daily basis when people are, going through it that it's like that there's a better way to do this.
Mhm.
I've worked in software before, so like seeing it kind of like makes me want to bang my head against the wall. But I've seen it several times where I just look at it and it's like there's an easier way to do this, but because we've dumbed it down so much, people are getting frustrated with it because if you're more intelligent than what, 80 IQ, you will skip buttons because it makes sense to skip that part because it's
Yeah.
apply to you.
Yeah.
And you have to go back, walk them through it. They got to go and check every single little dumb box, and then then they're done. And the number of times I've had to do that is just mind numbing. The amount of like work hours that are lost on that on a monthly, daily basis
Yeah.
is abysmal. Um, and just seeing that there's big gaps in those areas, and it kind of makes them uncompetitive because the prices that they're charging have to make up for those losses of what is just unproductive time that could have been avoided if people had access to even forms view, or you could skip ahead, things like that. So
Okay. Wow. I guess I'm a little bit surprised to hear that uncompetitive with it. Like I know that TurboTax is a bit like a video game where they
yeah.
walk you through this stuff and you see the green if you're getting a refund and the red if you're gonna owe. But
Yeah.
How does it compare to Tax Refund 3000, that game we played last year?
what was
How's it?
that? Guys, what was the name of that? I don't even remember the
Yeah.
stream we did on that. It was
I mean,
tax
that must be a pretty big heavy hitter in the industry, right?
tax
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
with it.
it's probably on par with that. I would say the game is almost a little bit better in some ways. So, because the game, you're not gonna, if I remember right, you could go through it and it basically you wouldn't mess up situations like this where Intuit sometimes, especially Kentucky, I don't know what it is about Kentucky. Intuit hates Kentucky.
The
And if
local
you're in
taxes.
Kentucky, it will always generate an
Yeah,
additional form that is not necessary.
the
And
local
I'm
ones.
pretty sure that video game doesn't do that. So,
So it's called Tax Heaven 2000. Clary and I did a video on that probably like a year and a half ago. I
Yeah, it
always
was
felt like that was a data stealing
Oh, that was
operation
it's
there.
yeah,
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's
Yeah. No, you're right, Raymond. I the states that have strong local tax elements to it suck, and Kentucky
Oh,
is
yeah.
among the
Yeah.
worst of them.
They have been
Indiana's not
the
great
bane
either.
of my existence since, well, since even working sales and use tax because it's done by county. But whenever you're
Ugh.
doing that, it was awful. And there's like one person you have to call every single time it gets messed up. Oh man, it was so bad.
You guys are making me appreciate Illinois. That's not a good
Yeah.
wow, that's saying something.
we've sunk that low. Well, I don't know. I feel like this has been really informative. Like, I guess, what is there any final words about this? It sounds like it's working out really, really well for you.
Yeah, no, it has been. I think I already mentioned they'll pay for your EA,
Yeah.
and basically it's kind of like a refund, bonus. They give you access to the free software, and then once you pay for it and pass it, they'll give you $1,000 bonus, which basically refunds all the fees you would have spent on taking the EA.
EA. Yeah.
And then with that, you get a significant pay bump up from being uncredentialed. It's almost $10 an hour pay bump just to switch to that. And then there's also the business tax side, which is another option that I didn't really talk about, but that's working with S corps, C corps on their side. So
Yes.
issuing your K1s and stuff. So that is another option once you kind of like get in, but they do ask for like having business, tax experience where you do that.
Experience doing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I guess I could talk about the day to day. I know that was something you had asked.
Yeah, I guess before we get to the super chats and everything, like, yeah, just to kind of tell me about what today was like, or what Monday was like.
Yeah, I would say probably Monday. So because I have so many clients, I spend a lot of time in what is called back office prep, which is where I'm following up with clients, emailing them, working on their tax documents for what they have submitted, and then trying to get the ones that have not responded to respond so I can work on their taxes. Um,
You have to chase down paperwork just like I do,
oh
essentially.
yeah, yeah,
Ah,
yeah. It
that's
was that I would say out of
yeah.
the 50, out of the 51 or whatever I have right now, 39 of them I'm hunting down papers. Like they have no documents submitted
Yeah,
yet.
man, I hate to tell you this, but even when you're fully on your own and independent, that's
Oh yeah,
unavoidable.
yeah,
That it's just what people do. They're
yeah, yeah. No, I know. I've got a couple clients personally that I've back and forth emails for 2 weeks, just trying to get documents. So yeah, I understand that. That's just part of the deal. So you know,
And yes, Clary, I've never had to do this a single time with you in 7.5 years. So,
Very happy to help you out.
um,
but yeah,
okay,
I
go.
think I think that's most of it. It's really, and then oh yeah, once you're done with back office prep time, you go straight to the phones. But I don't really spend a lot of time there because I just have so many clients I'm managing. But when I do, it's usually towards the end of the night, around like 11:30, midnight. Um, because I've ended up on the phone until like 2 a.m. So I will say
Jeez.
that if you are not wanting to work late, cut off at like 11. When this is Eastern Standard Time, cut off at 11 because you can be there really, really late if you're not careful. So,
Okay, so let me just make sure I sum this up. If you either have tax experience or you have a bachelor's in accounting,
yeah.
or I guess you're credentialed in some way in EA or CPA,
Mhm.
this is definitely the right move,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. If you want to work remote, you only want to work, 3, maybe at most 6 months out of the year because you can choose to come back early and you can choose to stay over late through June. So there are
Wow.
those options also. And in general, they only go to credentialed people. So,
Man, Clary, I wonder. I don't think we've been barking up the wrong tree, but we need to give into
Well,
it.
yeah, no, I recommend that in the course among with Jackson Hewitt and all that. I did not know that Intuit and TurboTax was this good because we haven't had anyone talk
mhm.
about it, but I'm glad we did have this conversation.
And the reason it slipped through my cracks is because 9 years ago they weren't even close to being this good. In fact, they
Yeah.
Yeah.
sucked back then.
Are the women
So
hot?
As I
he
said,
can't see
mostly
Do,
it.
do
old.
you do you get
Mostly
do you
old.
get more girls than the guys at Jackson Hewitt? Like you do get the girls because it's cool. You say into it, and the girls like, oh my god, right?
It is much more recognized. Like people definitely know more about it for sure, even in comparison to H&R. So, which is kind of interesting. I think people look at H&R as like second rate. Meanwhile, they have like
How dare you
Intuit
insult
at
my
like
company?
a.
How
That's
Oh,
dare you,
Clary's
sir?
investment there.
That's my
Um,
company.
well, Intuit. Well, I probably shouldn't say that. Never mind.
no, no, okay, all right. All right. Well, I guess we're ready for super chats now. Clary, do you
Go ahead,
want to
do
read
them. Yeah, I
them?
got 15
Yeah.
minutes before because I'm a big internet guy. I gotta go
We're
on
gonna
another
cut this
show
out. I
after
got
this.
work to
Right.
do, and I know that the lazy millennial has stuff to do. I'll read this one real quick. Strongman Personal Finance. Stop sending me so many referrals, Elkins. You're stressing me out. Yes, Strongman Personal Finance has tax experience, so I sent him some sophisticated referrals, and it's worked out well. Parker, I saw you earlier. I promise I have more referrals for you. So, with that,
Bob, for $2, how did you get your degree in 6 months?
So I already had a college degree ahead of time, and I had already taken several economics and accounting classes because of the business I was going into. It was pretty well known that if you wanted to support a family or anything like that, you pretty much had to go out on your own. That was the only way to
yes.
do it. So I
Yep.
went ahead and had taken some. So I only really needed about, it was like 40, I think it was 44 hours to graduate. And so when I went in, I was able to bust that out pretty quick. I was doing about 1 to 2 classes a week. I was knocking out. And they're not really that hard, honestly. So,
Awesome.
Ray John, $5. Here in Canada, we get burdened by taxes by our government. Everyone's complaining. How does this relate to suck my dick? Ray John is high as always.
I don't think there was much of a
A
question
question,
there.
no.
So,
Move on.
there,
Move on. So,
there is Intuit Canada. Um, I don't know if they hire experts, but it is part of the package that we receive as experts. So, given that, I would assume that they hire experts in Canada also.
I'll bet Ryan Stone would crush that job.
He would. He would. This Hanyaker sends a super sticker for $2.
I can't see it, Atham. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't see it. So thanks, dude. We'll get you on here if you feel like it. Oh, Clary, there's another Hanyaker here.
Oh boy, Raymond, thoughts and minds, $5. Here's to the absolute Chad of Turd Pro's tax season. Filed on February 28th and received both state and Fed refund by March 10th. Paper check.
Paper checks.
He's old school.
Well, good for you, Raymond, because the people that are waiting for electronic payments, they've been delayed. I think it's because of Doge, but I mean, I don't know. Well, Clary, did you get anything?
Yeah,
yet?
I got mine. I'm ready.
You already
to go.
got it?
I'm all ready to make my SEP IRA contribution now.
You just let me know.
All right.
Crab, what's up, dude?
For $2, just had the best date night in the last 10 years. Good for him.
Well, good, Crab. And you got a next one.
King Crab again, $2 taxes season picking up. Want an update email?
Yes, Crab. We've had Crab on twice. Please, Crab, send me an update via email, which you have. And I'm glad to hear that you had a good date. I'm glad I don't have to be dating right now.
This is what happens when you become an accountant. You just get all the girls.
You've seen. That's exactly what
That's
happens.
exactly what happens. Mariah West, this is Mr. Texas's wife.
Mr. Texas
fancy mistress or whatever. $10. Currently doing volunteer income tax assistance to get some experience before graduating in May. We use TaxSlayer. It seems pretty straightforward to use. Is it commonly used by EAs and CPAs?
So it's not, but that's not a bad thing. TaxSlayer is really good because they do simplify it without turning it into like a video game the way Intuit does. And TaxSlayer is primarily a self-preparation program. So you won't see a lot of pros using it. But I have to say, my experience with it is pretty positive because the interface makes it way more like the tax preparation software I use. And it's actually, believe it or not, the Lazy Millennial, it's a little bit like a Pro Series with Pro Connect.
Yeah, I've actually, before I decided to go with Pro Series, I tested out TaxSlayer. So it just came down to cost. TaxSlayer for basically the plan I would have to have was like $1,800. And it's hard to beat $300. So
that's pretty good. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. Thank you, Mariah. Vita, I'm actually going to do a stream about that sometime soon after tax season, but it's a great program. It's how you get a lot of good experience.
Steve Camacho, $2. I keep dreaming about asking clients for Schedule A info.
Schedule A, so they doubled the standard deduction with tax reform from 2018. So Schedule A is far less relevant than it used to be. That's itemizing mortgage interest and all that. So I think that's what he's referring to. Raymond again,
thoughts and minds, $5. This guy doesn't live up to his name, not lazy at all. Yeah, well, him and this other millennial are kind of ruining the millennial's name here. They're supposed to be slouchers.
God, I don't know how you gotta do you have time to relax, the Lazy Millennial? Because this sounds brutal, honestly.
Yeah, I'm doing about 16 hours a day, just through tax season. But I still have an hour, 2 hours, to myself to work out, do what I got to do, take care of my wife and my son. But the other thing is, I will say, like with TurboTax, there is time you can walk away a little bit.
I remember, yeah.
That's part of back office prep. So it's not something that is like super intensive. And if you get good at the taxes, it's a breeze, honestly. So
that's the way it is with it. Like when you get good at taxes, you can almost do it in your sleep.
Pretty much. Yep.
Chase Robideau, $10. Since working in tax, I've noticed bookkeepers and controllers make the books unnecessarily complicated and detailed. I don't need 20 income accounts for a business that generates $500,000 in revenue.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that necessarily. The bookkeepers that I deal with are a little on the spurgy side and they overdo the detail on some of this, but that's just how a lot of bookkeepers are.
I've lucked out. My partner is my bookkeeper. So,
well, for a while,
she keeps the things the way I want them. So,
Clary's partner was his tax preparer for a while. So
now she's just my ordinary bookkeeper. Bunker Rush, $5. RMDs or 1099 are issues brought a bunch of clients in from Intuit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of errors around that.
Yes.
Honestly, not even just that one. We've had a lot of errors around all the 1099s. Like 1099Ks are being double entered right now. 1099 necks are being double entered. It is, yeah, it's just.
So, first of all, RMDs is required minimum distribution. Second, Clary, you and I have done a stream on that about 2 years ago about how like PayPal, there was that rule about how if you make over 600, so that's even though they upped the standard, that's causing problems. So, yeah.
King Crab got a 3K raise last week. Next raise in 6 months.
Good stuff, man. Send me an email. Let me know. This is the last super chat we have.
And King Crab, $2 date was redhead with double D's. Great. Why does he? What's what? Fuck.
Accountants get the girls, man. I know you don't believe me.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Guys, I really appreciate it. Like, I feel like this was a very valuable stream. There's going to be a lot of people that get a lot out of this. So, the Lazy Millennial, thank you so much. And I'm going to give you your cut of the super chat payouts. I appreciate you hanging out. Clary, of course, you'll get yours. Is there anything we need to promote in your mind, Clary? Should we?
Well, if I want to have the life of the Lazy Millennial, right? I would need some guidance beyond this short conversation we had here. I need a thorough roadmap to achieve what he has. And I believe there's a course out there called The World's Greatest Accounting Career that's available on Teachable and probably is linked below. And you will notice that the link below has some virus in it. There's a virus that steals 25% of my money and gives it to Chad. So if you click on that affiliate link, which is a virus, it will steal 25% of my money and give it to Chad. So if you're interested in learning more about an accounting career course, that I will say pretty hands-on, that is the most thorough career accounting course.
It's good. Right, the feedback has been good. Yeah. And real quick, the other Marcus Brown, who has a channel you should check out. Clary, where are you going on after this?
I'm going to Skylar. Hang on, Skylark. It's here. Oh, he hangs out with Raylan Stark, Raylan, Raylan Stark. Although I don't know if it's live. Yeah.
Stark, S-T-A-R-K. All right, I put the name in the chat. So yeah. All right. Well, guys, I really appreciate it. This is a great one. And would one of you tell me when we should hang out?
Probably soon.
Soon.